No, I'm not ready for Vegas. I haven't even started yet. Getting laundry going and house cleaning first.
Yeah, so alright, starting the draft. Dustin Schneider here, doing my second mock draft. We're gonna do this together. Dustin's gonna play GM because he's really smart. Works at Aerojet Rocketdyne.
Yeah.
I don't know how smart though because he's a Giants fan and I'm a Seahawks fan, and I think neither one of us are really too excited for this draft.
No, definitely not.
So, how many different options do you have? Do you think the Giants have of blowing the draft?
Multiple. I think wide receiver is the only way they don't blow the draft from a talent standpoint. But they have so many other needs, and they still walk away without having a franchise quarterback that they want. So I feel like it's sort of a lose lose. Good possibility they jump for quarterback if they're set on one. If not, I see them taking a wide receiver, maybe a trade back. They're getting a lot of calls for that number 6 pick, so never know.
I mean the
I
way
guess we're sort of. Go ahead.
the way you guys are right now, trading back with the Vikings would be awesome. You could get a quarterback and you could get a receiver.
Yeah, yesterday our GM came out, Shane, and said their phone's been blowing up with a lot of different teams calling for that number 6 pick, to where he's been pretty surprised on how many. So
Yeah,
never really know what they'll do if they don't trade up and the guy they want doesn't fall to them at 6. Maybe they do trade back.
yeah. I saw the Chargers GM came out and said yesterday that the only way he's taking a trade is if they blow him away, which I was surprised you would just publicly say that because teams are probably going to be shut down to talk to you.
Yeah, but I don't think any of the teams in the top 10 are going to trade without it being pretty significant. I think anytime you want to jump up that high, you're going to have to give up what you don't want to, if you really want someone.
Yeah, but I think even though we know about the trade value chart, I think teams kind of try to use it, and I think when you're trying to jump really high, they always want those extra firsts that aren't in the trade value chart, and I think that basically he's saying that he wants an extra first.
I got you. Yeah. Then he must really want someone there for him to be saying that, in my opinion. I think they have someone they really like. If you're going to want that much to move, then you're really set on something.
Yeah, or are you just trying to smoke and guns them?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. There's probably a lot of, like I said, once the draft starts, we'll definitely see what rumors are true and what were false, because they're blowing up everywhere.
Yep. So what are you guys doing this weekend?
Headed to Vegas on Saturday.
And
Get back next Wednesday night.
do you have any plans for as far as eating at certain restaurants, going to the steakhouse? What's that famous cook guy's steakhouse over there? Ramsey, right?
Yeah, I'm not spending $500 on a steak, but yeah, we're staying at her brother's for the first 2 nights, and then we're staying at Wynn. It's at like some sister hotel on the Strip. It's like $500-600 a night hotel, and with their membership they've had for 15 years, her family, they get it for like $149 a night is what they're getting it for. So we're gonna stay there on the Strip. Take her 5-year-old to the swimming pool. Do some shops. We're gonna go to this M&M store there. It's like 3 stories. I guess it's pretty big. We're gonna go do a hike like 50 minutes out of Vegas. So yeah, we got a handful of things planned. It's her mom's 65th birthday is why we're going. So yeah, we'll have a couple big dinners, but I don't know where yet.
That's pretty cool. Don't eat too many red velvet cupcakes there.
And then I gotta get a hold of BP while we're there, because if I go in where they're, I'm not a gambler, but if I'm in there, he wants me to put $100 on black. He said he'll sell me.
I could give you my number to my brother-in-law in Vegas. They can take you out or tell you where to go. They live there now. You know that, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, her brother knows it really well too. And then they have a cousin and that lives there as well. So, and they've been going to Vegas since she was a kid. So they go like multiple times a year. So they're like Vegas people for sure.
Cool. Yeah, my father-in-law and mother-in-law are out there visiting right now. I think they come home today. They said it's been 80 the whole time, so you're definitely gonna get warm.
I was going to tell you, yeah, I've been watching it. It's been 70s, 80s, and I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. Guess what it is when we head out Saturday? The first 3 days we're there, 92 to 95.
Yikes.
And then by the time we leave Wednesday, by like Thursday, it drops back to 70s. So,
Lobster
yeah.
boy coming back.
Nah, I'm going to limit my pool time because I told her I will fry. And I'm not doing what Eric recently did or Jake last year. I'm like, you go from this weather over there and I'm out too much in the sun, I'm going to hurt.
Yep. All right, you ready to do this?
All right, let's do it.
So you can get ready for Vegas?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, I'm going to play this every time I get ready to say the team. All right, so Chicago Bears are on the clock. I don't think there's any really debate other than Caleb Williams, right? Have you heard any rumors other than him?
No, I'm going Caleb. Out of all the quarterbacks, I think he's the safest. He has some red flags with the role his dad plays. But as far as on the field, he's he's good in the pocket. He's aware of his surroundings. He moves really well when there's pressure on him. He made throw after throw the last couple of years with a team that had no defense. He had some good players offensively, but nothing crazy. But yeah, he just made play after play, and I think he's the clear number one. I don't think you overthink it. I think you draft him. The Bears have been needing a quarterback as long as I've been alive. They haven't had their number one, so I think it's pretty clear.
So, being in the scouting department, we did get a few calls from the Redskins willing to give you their first, second, next year's second, and then also the Vikings called saying they give you their 2 firsts and next year's first and second. Would you be interested in trading down? And you could get Jaden Daniels at 2, or you can move completely down to 11. And I mean, at that point, you're looking at Penix or somebody. Would you even be willing to do that, or you just want the franchise quarterback?
I mean, they're good offers, but you don't know where. Redskins probably won't finish too high next year. You could end up with a top 10, maybe. Vikings, they got a decent team. If they get a quarterback, they could be decent. In my opinion, how long the Bears have been trying to get a quarterback, you got to go Caleb. And you just got rid of Fields. You gave up on him early on. So, yeah, you got to go Caleb Williams. I don't think you overthink it. And you're really taking a risk of depending on where those picks end up next year and then who's going to be your quarterback this year because you got rid of Fields for nothing. So if you were thinking that way, I think you would have maybe kept Fields on the roster and then traded. I mean, yeah, they could trade for Jaden Daniels if they're more set on Daniels and that value was going to be there. But I'm also hearing Jaden Daniels needs a little time before he's, ready just to be thrown in, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think if the Bears improved so much at the end of last year and then they went out and got Keenan Allen and stuff, if they went to Jaden Daniels and he had a poor rookie year after the trade, the Bears franchise would lose it.
Yeah, GM would be fired for sure.
Yep. All right, so we're locking in Caleb Williams just like everybody else in their mock drafts. Number 2, both Jaden Daniels and Drake May have been rumored. Our scouts like them equally, and then there is trade offers from the Vikings as well. So what's your thought process here?
For me, I'm going Jaden Daniels for sure. May has way too many red flags. They're saying he could cost the GM their job. There's a lot of upside with him. He's got some mechanic issues, but Jaden Daniels, he's an accurate passer, dangerous runner. I think you got to take him. I think he has the upside, sort of fits in with what the league's going with. I think he just.
Yeah, a lot of rumors I'm hearing about him is that in drafts that don't have guys like Caleb Williams, he could easily be a number 1 pick.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think as far as right now at this stage of their careers, you got to go Jaden Daniels over May. Could May turn into something with the, fixing his mechanics and the right coaching? Sure. But at this point, when you're drafting number 2, you got to go for the more sure thing that also has like immense upside. And, if he was to, he's a thinner guy. If he stays healthy and, when he runs, he at least slides and avoids hits and stuff. If if he's to stay healthy in the league, he could be, a really good ball player.
Yep. All right, so the over 2 pick, we're going to go with Jaden Daniels. So now the Patriots are on the clock. And options the scouts have for us here, they have Drake May, who you just kind of let have it. We also have J.J. McCarthy, who I know is one of your personal favorites. And we still have 2 trade offers. You want to hear the trade offers?
Sure.
So the Vikings are looking to move up. They'll give you both of their firsts and next year's first, so just 3 picks. And then you also got a call from the Giants. The Giants are willing to give you their first and second and next year's second.
I don't know, dude. That's tough. I'm sort of doing this mock right now without trades. Do I think there'll be some trades? Probably.
Well, our scouting department guys talking to the Patriots don't think the Patriots are ready to win next year, so they want more picks. So that's why they're looking to move back.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I think this is where the draft can completely change, is at pick 3. Mac Jones sucks. He's just not that good of a quarterback. At least doesn't fit what New England does. Drake May's definitely an athletic version he has good accuracy, field vision, but his mechanics need work. They said he's an elite prospect if he has the right coaching to prepare him and stuff. But there are some things about his game that are definitely question marks. But he also had zero help to where he's coming from. They say he does need a little bit of time. I don't know what the Patriots are going to do, depending on where they trade back. I guess if you trade back with the Vikings or Giants, you'd still pick up a quarterback. If there's a quarterback you like more, got that range, maybe JJ, maybe even Penix. I know a lot of people are saying, yeah, go ahead.
All right, so if you're not wanting to do some trades, then our scouting department has McCarthy and May pretty evenly. Which of the 2 would you rather have if you're a team that's not going to be able to win next year anyway? Both of those 2 guys, it sounds like, from your perspective, need a year to improve anyway. They're not going to be off and firing in a year. So if you get Drake May or McCarthy, then you're kind of looking for, at best, 2026, right? Or 2025. So, build up your team and take one of the 2 if you're not trading back. So which of the 2 are you taking?
I'm at the point I almost like JJ more, but just based on all the mocks, everything I've heard, I think May is going to go above him. So for me, I'm going to take May, is what most people are going with here at New England, but I'm definitely not set with it. I think New England is definitely the wild card in the draft where things can really start changing.
Yeah, my opinion on these actual 4 quarterbacks left. So we talked about May and McCarthy, right? But I honestly feel that Penix and Bo Nix aren't really much different than them. I feel like if you're the Patriots, if you can get a trade back to 6 to 11, I think you do it, because the only way other teams get quarterbacks ahead of you now, those 4, is if they hop you. If you just sit at 11, you're the only team that needs a quarterback after 3 anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so Drake May will select. Okay, so next on the clock is Arizona Cardinals. We do have an offer still from the Vikings. Teams are still looking to move back. But the 2 selections here that I'm giving you from our scouting department is Neighbors and Harrison. And if you want to throw in Rome, we can do that as well. Because Rome, on an interview yesterday, I don't know if you heard this, said he is the best receiver in the class.
Yeah, I saw that. Like a week ago or something. Yeah, so like I said, I'm sort of doing my picks without trades. I do think there are going to be a couple trades, but trades change up so much in the draft. I'm just sort of going with where each team's at, what if they don't trade, what they need. Arizona clearly could use a wide receiver. They just extended their guy, so Murray. Yeah, they just extended Murray. You got 3 extremely good wide receivers that could be Pro Bowl caliber in the right systems and stuff. I love Neighbors. There's so many good things about him, and I love Rome. I'm still going to say Marvin Harrison's the number one. His stats last year, like 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns in each of his last 2 years. He's just a playmaker like his dad was. I just don't think you overthink this pick. You take the sure thing. You go with the number one. I'm going to go with Marvin Harrison for me and get Murray that number one guy.
Yeah, so Harrison, NFL has been pretty known that when you have a dad that was in the quarterback, your success rate is definitely a lot higher. So having a Hall of Fame receiver ahead of you, I mean, he's definitely set up for success.
Yeah, especially with his numbers he's put up. I mean, it's clearly he was just dominant on the football field, and it wasn't just a 1 year thing. He's backed it up with multiple years, and yeah, I think he's definitely the clear cut one. I don't know if a team will overthink it, but to me, I think you definitely take him.
So just to think a little bit here, Kyler Murray has definitely had his own issues, right? So you think the Cardinals would even consider McCarthy here and moving completely on from Kyler and trying to look to trade him in the draft?
No, because I don't think there's any way you're going to say JJ's better than Kyle Murray in any way,
Not
especially at this point. I
not
mean,
not year one for sure, but Arizona's not ready to take their division on anyway. So I mean, if you could trade back with the Vikings or make some trade and get Kyler Murray off, get another first round pick, I mean, you're looking you'd have McCarthy set up.
yeah, I would think the GM would be in trouble if you do something like that, just because you just extended Murray. So that would be the way of thinking would be we're extending them because we want to keep them long term, and then a month or two later you go off and say, we changed our mind. We want to go with the young guy and stuff. That'd be really foolish unless if you were at that place and you really liked McCarthy's upside that much to Murray, you were able, when you traded back, you included Murray in a package deal to ship him off. Outside of that, it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Also, though, if you do get somebody under contract, it makes them look a little more valuable in the trade market, to be honest, versus a guy
Yeah,
that's on a 1 year deal. All right, so
yeah.
so not doing the trades and agreeing with you. The best receiver is Marvin Harrison, so don't overthink it. Right? Everyone that I've been hearing since he is comped here have been comparing him to Larry Fitzgerald. Do you think he's that good at upside?
I mean, it's too early to say, right, with the NFL career Fitzgerald had, but uh, he looks the part for sure, right? If he has the longevity of a Fitzgerald and can stay healthy and stuff, I mean, he's definitely going to be a number one for a long time.
All right, so we have the Chargers on the clock. Still have neighbors and Rome available. I think the Vikings will still be looking to trade up here, which we're not going to do. And then the wild card I'll throw at you is Joe Alt, because you do know how much Jim McMahon likes his trenches. So you got Joe Alt, and you got neighbors, and you got Rome.
Yeah, what are your thoughts? I mean, for me with the Chargers, they just lost Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler. Like your entire core of offensive players that you've had for Herbert are gone. So, but Herbert also took a pounding last year, which led to him missing the end of the season. He was battered a lot of the year. He was taking hit after hit. So you can clearly go number one offensive tackle in the draft or one of the last two number one wide receivers for him. So it's definitely a tough spot for the Chargers. What do you value more? Left tackle, number one left tackle, or a number one wide receiver? I think their left tackle's okay. I don't think that was the biggest concern on their offensive line.
Yeah,
So more than
I think if they drafted the tackle here his first year, he's playing right tackle for sure. But seeing that Harbaugh was willing to trade or release his receivers to save cap money kind of tells you that they're not in it to win it this year for sure. I feel that way. I think he's trying to overhaul the roster like new head coaches usually do. So to me, getting rid of receivers kind of shows you he doesn't value receivers that much. But those two guys did have problems, right? One's getting older, the other one's always hurt. So I don't think it excludes him from getting receiver, but I think it kind of shows that he doesn't value receivers and he's not really in it to win this year. I feel like I think the scouting department leans on Joe Alt here, but I think if you want to take a receiver, we're okay with that.
Yeah, if you're up for alt, we can do that. I also think you got to keep Herbert happy, and he can't be too happy for losing his 3 studs. Even though Mike Williams, right, he doesn't stay healthy, but when he's in there, he puts up huge numbers. Keenan Allen's a stud, like he's been that bookend for Herbert for years. Austin Eckler, outside of this year, has always been that guy. Who's Herbert going to throw to? You got Quentin.
So we do take Joe Alt here, right? We have an early second round pick, and we can have guys like Xavier Worthy out of Texas, Troy Franklin out of Oregon's going to be there, Ladd McConkey from Georgia, Xavier Legette from South Carolina, Jalen Polk from Washington. We can get Joe Alt and still get a low tier possible wide receiver 1 in the draft.
Yeah, that probably makes more sense too, for sure, because then you get that bookend tackle. I don't know though. They've also talked about when you're a left tackle and then they're going to move you to right tackle, sometimes that causes problems. So there's question marks about taking Alt and moving him to right end instead of keeping him in his left end position.
Well, we can riddle you this then. And if we're looking strictly at a right tackle, we got Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma might be there, Sumatra out of BYU, Jordan Morgan, Arizona, Roger Rosengart, which I really like, out of Washington. He was the most athletic tackle in the combine. So, I mean, we get a number 1 Pro Bowl receiver. We could also come back and get a guy specifically that played right tackle. So, kind of just talked myself out of that. I think we should go receiver.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. I think the draft within the first couple rounds are deep enough to where if they go tackle or wide receiver in the early second, with their pick, they can go the opposite position. That would sort of make sense for the first 2 picks to be addressing the line and the receiving core. So, I mean, they could even surprise in the early second and take the number 1 running back as well. There's always that option as well. But
yeah, and the number 1 running back on my board is Harbaugh's running back out of college, Blake Corum.
Yeah, there's several intriguing running backs that should start going.
What's good for Harbaugh here is you could possibly get the number 1 receiver, number 1 running back, and the number 1 right tackle in the draft if you play it right. So I feel like here we definitely go Neighbors or Rome. Rome, Harbaugh saw it personally in the championship game, right? He played against Rome. They didn't have the greatest offensive game, but Rome still made some plays there. And I believe he played LSU the game before, didn't he? Or did LSU not make the championship this last year?
No. Who did Michigan play the game before?
Alabama, right?
Alabama.
Yeah. I say we go Rome here. I'm kind of like Rome's game a little better than Neighbors. I think Neighbors is definitely more of a playmaker, but I know Harbaugh likes to run a run first conservative type offense. I think Rome fits that build a little better than Neighbors, to be honest.
Yeah, I like Rome. Big body guy, works hard, blocks well, wins popped up balls. In the NFL, I know they sort of talk about his separation, but he's 6'3", bigger guy. He runs fast enough. He wins a lot of those contested catches and stuff. So I can see him and Herbert, working really well together. I was sort of hoping he fell to me at 6.
He also, we talk about him being a big body guy, but he did run a 4.45 at the combine. He's not slow.
No. Yeah, he's not at all.
All right.
They're comparing him to a young A.J. Brown, and that's a huge compliment, because they're very similar in size, especially coming out of college and stuff. So,
all right, so number 5 pick, Jim Harbaugh, and the Chargers select Rome Odunze, wide receiver, UW. All right, so now your Giants are on the board. What do our scouting department have to tell you? They want a receiver. Only one left is Neighbors, so that's a little awkward, right? I mean, we were thinking 2 of the guys would have been here, and now we don't. We weren't thinking about Joe Alt, but we're throwing that out there now, and we also know how much you love the J.J. McCarthy talk. So McCarthy, Neighbors, Joe Alt. And what are you thinking now?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I still really like Neighbors. I think he's a clear number one on the board. Um, I'd love to take him, but then we'd be in that situation of who's our franchise quarterback. So I don't know if they really have given up on Jones. We're about to find out at this pick. If they still believe Jones can be what he was 2 years ago compared to last year in his brief playing time, then they're going to go Neighbors. If not, they also have interviewed all the quarterbacks extensively. I can see them jumping on J.J. McCarthy. If the rumors that they really like McCarthy are true, we would know it right away at this pick. They'd be ecstatic to get the quarterback without having to move up. Alt is also would be a great pick, but we're set at left tackle. That's one of our strengths on our very, very awful, weak offensive line.
And kind of what we just talked about. If you guys are set at left tackle, the second pick in the draft, you could get your right tackle. There's a lot of them. If you do go McCarthy here, and that's who you guys, the scouting department, wanted to move up to get him, and now you get him not having to get rid of your second round pick. You can still take a right tackle if you want at pick 2, or we can go receiver in the round 2.
Yeah. So they got 4 offensive linemen in the free agency period, and they're set at left tackle. They got their center last year.
Well, we got one phone call trade. If you're interested, hear us out. So the Oakland Raiders, pick 13, are offering their first and second and next year's second to move down quite a bit.
Yeah. I think from 13 to 6, they can probably get a first, but like I said, I'm sort of going just without the trades on this. So
J.J. McCarthy or Neighbors? What are you thinking?
I'm gonna let you pick on this because it's all about the regime, right? Like you said, DeBall and Joe, they did not select Daniel Jones. That's from the Gettleman era. So if they're ready to pick their guy and JJ's their guy, then I clearly think they take JJ. I'm torn on it. And if not, I think you go Malik Neighbors. You get that clear number one wide receiver that they need. Plus, their current sort of number one, Darius Slayton, is holding out. So they got a lot of number 2s. They got some guys with definitely potential to maybe be low end ones, but this would give them a clear number 1. So I don't know.
I think since you're debating it, our scouting department wants to let you know that we do have receivers like we talked about earlier. Our department really likes Troy Flanken out of Oregon. We also like Jalen Polk. There's a lot of guys in the early second round that we think could be number 1s, or at least give us another bunch of high end 2s in our team. So we're kind of leaning towards McCarthy here.
Yeah, I can see him doing that. I'm super torn. I know he's accurate. He has a solid arm, mobility. He has good leadership skills. But there's a lot of question marks still in his game. But they've done their homework on him. They've met with him numerous times. Yeah, so I'm going to trust them. If that's who they think their guy is, then we can go McCarthy.
So without being pushed too hard, Dustin's New York Giants select J.J. McCarthy. Your favorite situation in the draft, getting another quarterback, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely not excited. This is one of those picks. I hope he completely, if they were to take him, completely prove me wrong. I mean, there's rumors of them trading up to number 4 Arizona just to go with this guy. So we'll see.
All right, so Tennessee Titans are on the clock. Everyone not in Tennessee are saying Joe Alt here. I'm going to throw a couple monkey wrenches at you. So Brock Bowers is there. We would love to have our young quarterback to have a weapon like a tight end, to have a safety net. So maybe we can get a Mahomes-Kelsey connection type thing going on in Tennessee. Also, best defensive player in the draft's available, and Dallas Turner. We're kind of leaning towards the offensive side. What do you think?
Yeah, Tennessee did pretty good this offseason, I think, in free agency period. Last year they addressed the pass rush by going with a a pass rusher early. This year, they were saying they need someone to fill in Taylor Lewan's shoes, who's been a stud for them. Last year, they drafted that Peter guy to replace Nate Davis. This year, I honestly think, yeah, they go Joe Alt. I think they would be excited to have him still here at number 7, and I think he would be, a good need for him as well.
You don't think getting once in a lifetime talent tight end to go with our young quarterback would be a good move?
Yeah, it would for sure, but I just don't know who they're going to have at left tackle. And for a young quarterback, the best friend outside of a tight end is your left tackle. So I'm going to go with the left tackle first.
All right, so we don't go different than the mocks. We stick with the smart choice, Joe Alt. Atlanta Falcons on the board. This is kind of a similar thing with the Titans. Everyone's been mocking Turner here. I'm going to give you a couple other options to see what you think. So there's also a tackle out of Penn State that's is maybe number 1 if Joe Alt wasn't in this draft, and Olu Fashanu from Penn State. It's got all the tools, big guy, fast, strong. You know the whole thing. And then also we could draft Brock Bowers as well. So you thinking Turner here or Fashanu? What's your thought?
Yeah, I mean the Falcons on the offensive ball have a lot of playmakers now, so I think they're going to focus on defense. I think to take Turner is a perfect spot here. I mean, it makes sense. He's a dynamic pass rusher. They said he has comparisons drawn to Brian Burns, who went from Carolina to the Giants, who's always been a problem on that D line. So if you have that edge rusher that can cause problems like that, and you're getting them at number 8 and stuff, I sort of agree with them addressing the defensive side of the ball with the first pick.
245 pounds. He ran the same 40 time as Roma Dunze.
That's crazy.
All right, so seems like an easy selection here. So with the number 8 pick, Falcons select Dallas Turner. So you kind of run through this scenario and see why a lot of mocks say the same thing, huh? It's just kind of obvious at the top who you're selecting if you're not getting a quarterback. So number 9, the Bears we already selected Caleb Williams. A lot of rumors that we're gonna go receiver. I think now that the top 3 receivers are out, our only options here is I guess there still is Neighbors there. Neighbors is still available, so scouting department is clamoring for Neighbors, saying it's amazing value. And other than Neighbors, best defensive available player we're looking at here is Terrion Arnold. And then we have a couple of our scouting department that says, hey, let's give our quarterback an offensive tackle because we need to keep Caleb Williams healthy. So we also have Fashanu still available here. So Penn State tackle, we get a steal and get Neighbors here, or we can look at best defensive player. And if we're going to do that, we can get Terrion Arnold, cornerback out of Alabama.
Yeah, I'm going to sort of throw a wrench on this. The Bears just re-signed their stud cornerback to an extension this offseason. Wide receiver, as much as at this point, Neighbors is amazing value here. They have more already. Who's a clear number 1. They just made the big trade to get Keenan Allen. Yeah, he's at the end of his career, but for this current year, you got your young quarterback, you got decent tight end, you got 2 stud wide receivers. I don't think this high you would invest into a 3rd wide receiver that high. If you're thinking maybe Allen's has 1 to 2 more years, maybe, but the Bears did trade for Montez Sweat, which was, he's a stud on the edge and made a big difference. I think the Bears need to keep improving their defense. I sort of like, honestly, going Jared Verse. Put him on the up.
So let me throw a monkey wrench. I know you didn't want to do it, but there are 2 trade offers right here. You want to hear them?
Sure.
So the Oakland Raiders, you can move down 5 spots, and if you move down 5 spots, you can pick up a first, a third, and next year's second. And then you got a call from Buffalo, who's willing to give their first, second, and next year's first to move up to here. So it moved back quite a bit, but we'll get two firsts and a second out of it. Or you can move down 5 spots and pick up a third and a next year's second.
Yeah, I can see a trade back. Like I said, I'm going without trades, but there's a lot of rumors the Bills are looking to jump up, try to get a number one wide receiver now. I could see another trade for sure.
So Latu, so we have Latu versus Johnny Newton and Byron Murphy. That's who. If you didn't want to go corner, that's the D lineman that we got on the board.
Yeah. I sort of, yeah. Bears young secondary's decent. I sort of, if they were to put with Sweat on the other end, Verse, and we know what two stud defensive ends can do for defense. They've improved, on offense, and if they add another edge rusher, I can see that being a problem. So
our scouting department wants to let you know that Latu is their highest rated pass rusher in the draft, and if you're trying to win the next 5 to 10 years, even if there does be some neck concerns popping up in the future, we could definitely really like to have a guy that can guarantee us double-digit sacks for the next 5 to 10 years on our Super Bowl runs.
Yeah, I mean, if he's the highest rated, we can go with him. I just see defensive end for sure. Yeah, he's definitely has the injury concerns like we talked about. Could have a shorter career and stuff, but he has huge upside. So we can go Latu here. I like that pick.
So just before we make our selection, Jared Verse, 255 pounds, ran a 4.58, which is pretty fast. He bench pressed the was it 225 31 times, so he's definitely a freaking powerhouse. Latu, pretty much the most dominant stat pass rusher in the college the last 2 years. He's a little bit heavier and bigger than Verse. He ran 4.64, so a little bit slower than Verse, but definitely has more wiggle than Verse. Verse just kind of bowls his way in, kind of. I heard a comp from him comparing him to what was the Dolphins' defensive end at the end of his career right now, or did he just retire? They're a big, strong guy, big, strong end they've had for the last 12 years, 15 years. Can't remember his name right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So, Verse or Latu? Latu's a little more risky, but Verse is ranked a little bit lower by our group that think he's more of a project, needs a year or so to get some new moves.
I'll let you go with that pick. I'm okay. I just think one of those ends, would be a good pick here.
So you're gonna stick with scouting department and pick Latu?
Sure.
Alright, so the Chicago Bears 9th pick, they go defensive end. Lateo? Is it Latu? Latu. What a name.
Latu. I think Latu.
Alright, so the Jets, a lot of rumors. Brock Bowers, we like him here. We also have the second best offensive tackle available, and Aaron Rodgers is screaming at us to get Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, at this point, who did the Jets just go and get this offseason for him?
Oh, the Jets already have two stud receivers, so
yeah.
I don't think they expected Neighbors to fall this far, but Neighbors definitely going opposite of Garrett Wilson would give Aaron Rodgers a lot to be happy about.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
he hasn't had a good tight end really in his career, so he watches all these great quarterbacks like Brady and Mahomes have amazing tight ends. He also was at Brock Bowers' interview with him a while ago, so I mean, Aaron Rodgers likes the kid.
It's a tough pick because obviously you're win now with Rodgers, right? You got to win right now. Their defense is solid. They got a solid run game. Garrett Wilson's a stud. Mike Williams, he's a really good player, but we know every year he misses game. So Brock Bowers.
Kind of listening to you there, all those receivers are kind of similar, right? Mike Williams is a burner, just like Neighbors. Garrett Wilson's kind of more of a complete receiver, but he also runs deep pretty well. So getting someone that can work the middle field opposite those guys might be more important. And Neighbors definitely can't run work the middle of the field as much. He's more of a burner.
Yeah, that guy was all over the field, in my opinion, watching him. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you trust Mike Williams. You'll be right back to just Garrett, there. But Brock Bowers, with what he brings to the table, I saw the Jet stud cornerback came out and was talking up Bowers. So I can see Gardner was saying stuff. This was weeks ago about Brock Bowers. I can see Brock Bowers really bringing something to the table for Aaron Rodgers at this stage of his career. I mean, Aaron Rodgers still has, arm strength for sure, but if he had a guy that can work the middle of the field, I sort of like the pick here for the Jets and Rodgers. I sort of like Bowers, even though I hate to see Neighbors continue to fall because he's, crazy talented, but.
All right, so Aaron Rodgers is trying to follow his predecessors and use them tight ends to win him a Super Bowl. So go opposite of two good receivers. The Jets select Brock Bowers. Well, Minnesota didn't get a chance to trade up. Really need a quarterback. Still have Penix and Bo Nix available, so definitely throw those at you. They need a pass rusher bad on their defense, so you got Jared Verse still here, and our best available player would be Neighbors. Vikings don't really need a receiver, but what's your thoughts here?
Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't heard. Kind of awkward in this draft when Neighbors doesn't go where people think that teams just don't really want that receiver.
Yeah, I've heard the Vikings linked to JJ a lot, and if they didn't get him in this draft, I haven't heard much about Penix and Bo Nix with them. I keep hearing Bo Nix with Denver. I keep hearing Oakland, even this morning with Michael Penix, that they really, really like him. And if he falls to him at 13, there's a good chance they take him.
Do you think that's like that they really like him, or they're just assuming like everyone else that McCarthy made Daniels and Williams are gone, they have no chance to get those guys, so they're just looking at the only guys left?
No idea. I mean, no idea. I mean, we've both talked about it. If Michael Penix is healthy, he could have a great NFL career. His main concerns are his health. That's his biggest red flags of why he's probably not a top 10 quarterback. So some people are saying he's not even going to make it in the first round. He's not getting out of the first round. He's going to go in the first 15 picks. I'll almost bet on it.
Well, the Vikings scouting department really likes Penix. That's what they're telling us, but we also didn't expect Neighbors to be here, and Neighbors opposite of Justin Jefferson and Addison. I mean, we're gonna have a elite receiving core.
Yeah, who's gonna throw to him though? They say they desperately want a quarterback. So
our scouting department wants to say, hey. It's possible that the Denver Broncos or Oakland Raiders don't take a quarterback, so if one of them don't take a quarterback, we could still get possibly Penix or Bo Nix in our 23rd pick.
Yeah, true.
So Penix, Neighbors, do you have anybody else that you'd even consider here? Maybe Verse. Do need a defensive end.
Yeah, they need a defensive end, maybe Verse, but man, they really need a quarterback. They have Sam Darnold right now, Jared Hall and Nick Mullins at quarterback. I mean, and it's only a 1-year deal for Darnold. They're not thinking of him as their long-term or starting quarterback. So ultimately, the Vikings will probably be the team with their 2 firsts to move up in the draft to take the quarterback they want for sure. But since we stayed here, I think we have to go quarterback for the Vikings.
Do you think Penix or Nix works better with Addison and Jefferson?
I mean, I like them both in different ways. Penix has the best deep throw arm. Having Justin Jefferson and him hook up, I can see that being a great, combination. I can see him putting up big numbers together. So I don't know if we're going quarterback here. As much as I keep hearing Oakland linked to them, I'll say if the Vikings don't trade up and take their guy, I'm going to go with Penix here.
Yeah, I think with Jefferson and Addison's speed, you wouldn't want to give him Bo Nix and have Bo Nix. But then again, Bo Nix was in Oregon, was just slinging it down the sidelines all over the place.
Yeah, he can throw it for sure.
And
Uh,
keep throw a monkey wrench in here. Bo Nix gives us some running. So our offensive line is improved, but having a running quarterback, our scouting department likes that. That's why we were also looking at McCarthy. So I would say that Bo Nix is probably closer to McCarthy than Penix is. So if we couldn't trade up to get McCarthy, our scouting department likes those traits, so maybe we get Bo Nix instead.
that's fine. I don't really care which one, to be honest. I just think they have to go quarterback. If they don't trade up and they set, I
Yeah,
think they still take one.
yeah, I agree with you. I think they're trading up from McCarthy, but I think if McCarthy's not there and they like McCarthy's traits, I think Bo Nix is a closer fit than Penix. Plus, Penix has that injury history, right? We're trying to get a quarterback for the future. I mean, we draft Penix here and we didn't trade up for McCarthy and Penix gets hurt. I mean, we're fired, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
All right, so with the 11th pick, the Vikings select Bo Nix. All right, so Denver Broncos are on the board. Oakland Raiders behind us. And both need a quarterback. Only one quarterback left that would even get debated here. Denver Bronco also, because of the Russell Wilson trade, needs a lot of help. So our scouting department tells you we need a best offensive player, best defensive player, and the people we're throwing at you. Denver says, dude, Malik Neighbors is here. We just lost our receiver. Get me Malik Neighbors. Defensive department says Terrion Arnold still here. Jared Verse is still here. So we got really good defensive players as well. Uh, and there's Michael Penix. Not
Yeah,
Michael Penix is a pass it blocker like Drew Brees, so that kind of fits Sean Payton's mo, right? So uh, I'm not really sure how good the offensive line in Denver is. I don't think it's that great, which could cause an injury on our young quarterback.
yeah, and I'm so torn on these picks because the Vikings and Denver are in desperate need for quarterbacks, right? Denver has Jarrett Stidham and Ben DiNucci for quarterback. I don't know if they have any high hopes for Jarrett Stidham. If they think one of these guys could be their guy, you know.
So
If
so
not, I'm definitely rolling with.
so our scouting department does tell you that there's Spentler Rattlers and Jordan Travises and Joe Miltons. There's a lot of guys that we could get later in the draft and let our current guys play out a year. Maybe a Spentler Rattler wouldn't be a bad idea if we get like a Malik Neighbors here.
No, and they said Rattler's moving up. You know, yeah, you can get there's some other options later in the draft for sure, and I agree with that. I think we just pass on Penix at this point. That they settle for what they have. I don't think you can pass on Neighbors. They just lost Jerry Judy in the off season. Sutton got back to form a little bit. He's always been a guy though that struggled with separation and stuff. They could use a clear number one, make something their number two at this stage. Neighbors falling here, if he was to fall to 12, would be amazing value. I don't think you can pass on that. So I definitely would say Neighbors at this point.
So Denver Broncos get the first gigantic fall of the draft and get Malik Neighbors. And Neighbors and Sutton on the outside. You got some tall, fast receivers for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you looking in later in the draft, if they could get someone like Joe Milton with a gigantic arm, look out.
Yeah.
So the Oakland Raiders are on the clock. The quarterback that we wanted all along is still here, and we also need offense and defensive help. So best offensive player other than quarterback available. They're still the second best tackle in the draft in Fashanu, so we could definitely get one of the better tackles still. Also, there's Arnold and Verse still available, or even Quinyon Mitchell if we wanted a different cornerback that's a little faster than Arnold.
Yeah, Fashanu and Verse at this stage, I feel like are great values. I mean, they got Gardner Minshew they picked up. They got Aiden O'Connell. I think it just depends what do they think of Aiden O'Connell as their long term. Is he a guy? To me, he showed some good flashes last year in his limited playing time. He had some, of course, struggles. He's a young guy. He only got to play so many games. You got to give these guys a shot and a chance. So to me, it just depends. What are the Raiders really thinking? Is O'Connell their guy? Antonio Pierce wanting to keep O'Connell, but
what have the owners of the Raiders always loved over the years? At receiver especially.
Yeah.
So what quarterback better to throw to fast receivers than Michael Penix?
Yeah, and I, based on just the rumors, ESPN and Bleacher Report were saying this morning that Raiders are really interested in Penix, and that rumor's heating up. Yes, it could be a smokescreen, like we all know. I don't know. They just went out and got Minshew, but I don't remember what his contract was. I'm assuming it's a 1 year. I don't remember, but regardless, if Penix is your guy and he's here at 13, based on the rumors and what they're saying, that I'd go Michael Penix for sure. We know if Penix can stay healthy, he can be one of the better ones out of the bunch.
Yeah, but here's the monkey wrench in the chat, though. So we're not too happy with our offensive line. We have a lot of holes in Oakland. We're definitely not a win-now team, so we're going to throw Penix out to the fire early on without a good team. So
Yeah. Yeah, and Penix with his injury history, we don't want him taking a pounding and stuff. So
if we did go offensive tackle here, right?
Yeah,
we could shore up our offensive line, and if you look at the draft afterwards, is there anyone that really needs a quarterback? We might be able to get Michael Penix with our second pick, or trade up to the start of the first and get Michael Penix.
Yeah,
I think we kind of got to think about that game, because the only other guy on the board ahead of us that would need a quarterback is Denver. So as long as we trade ahead of Denver and get Penix, we can do that.
Yeah, we can do that. I mean, like I said, it depends. We'll know in the draft, right? What do they think of O'Connell? We'll know. If they draft Penix, we know O'Connell isn't their guy. I sort of like him. I say give him a chance. So if we want to go with the trenches and stuff, I think Shanu would be definitely a great pick for that O-line. Antonio Pierce, who is their head coach now, was my linebacker when the Giants were winning Super Bowls, and he was a stud. And I know he loves the trenches on both ends of the ball. We could also make the case for
Jared Verse
as well here for sure. Great value for Verse, or we can go for Shanu. I do like Zamir White. He showed a lot of flashes last year for the Raiders, so adding that offensive tackle if you want to, have O'Connell.
Well, if we do get Jared Verse, then our defensive ends both could be Pro Bowlers. That'd be really good. We could do a lot of chaos on a pass rush.
Yeah, let's go Verse here based on Pierce loves the trenches. He's a defensive guy. When the Giants had Strahan and Ossie and Tuck and that D line, JPP and those guys, Matthias, they were destroying on the D line. So
I think O'Connell's pretty good, and it might even be that we're claiming Penix so hard because we're like saying we want a quarterback, so maybe people will jump us and give us trade or something. So for the 13th overall pick, the vaunted Raiders with their head coach being a defensive guy go Jared Verse. All right.
Yeah. I like that.
Yep. Next up is the Saints. Saints are super stoked offensive tackles here because they need an offensive tackle. They also need defensive line help, so we still have our choice of the best defensive tackles in the draft. And they also need a cornerback, and no cornerbacks drafted, so we could get a shutdown corner in the draft if we wanted. So we have our bet at a starting tackle, best defensive tackle, best cornerback available. I mean, we have a lot of choices here. So
last year they went Miles Murphy in the draft. They wanted to, address the edge rushing being weak, but the Saints need a left tackle. Trevor Penning so far, they said, has been a major bust. So a lot of the mocks I see, Fasciano, if he was to fall here, is their guy. So I'm not even overthinking this one. To me, if he falls to 14 here, that, he's arguably, they said, could be the number one tackle. Him and all are, depends on how Fasciano develops, but he's massive, great athleticism, great blocker. So I'm going to go Fashano here for the Saints for me.
So before you make the pick, let's talk it through. So the rookie defensive end that we drafted, he had a pretty good rookie year, right?
Yeah,
So we throw Byron Murphy next to him, and we know how Texas's pass rush was when you had multiple big and smaller guys. If we had Byron Murphy right next to our young edge, I mean, we could be pretty disruptive on one side of the ball.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I agree, but I also, if you don't have a left tackle offensively, it's going to be a nightmare year. We both know if you don't have your
Well,
left
defense
tackle.
is our strength. Defense is our strength already. I mean, do we want to make our defense elite, or do we want to give Derek Carr a chance to succeed? Do we really think we can go to the Super Bowl with Derek Carr? If not, might be good to make one side of the ball really well. But I mean, if we're planning on taking a quarterback next year, uh, well, there is that
I mean,
monkey wrench too. If Derek Carr is not our guy, what's your thoughts on Penix to the Saints to sit behind Carr for a year?
yeah, I haven't heard that rumor at all. That'd be interesting if that pops up. I think they like Derek Carr. He had an up and down year, but he also took a beating. So you got to protect your quarterback. So yeah, after getting their DN last year, their defense is still decent, right? The Saints have had a decent defense for a while, and they still compete, and they still got some pieces there. So I'm going to say you protect your quarterback and protect Carr.
All right, Saints go offensive tackle Olu Fashanu, Penn State. Next up is the Colts. Colts need a receiver. Don't really have. There is Brian Thomas here. A lot of people like him a lot. He's really high on some people's boards, really low on, not as high on others. Still have best corner and best defensive tackle available, which are both needs for our team.
Yeah, I'm sort of with you on the cornerback talk. I hear a lot of cornerback talk to the Colts. They need cornerback help, and the Jags and Texans have a lot of firepower at wide receivers. Arnold's really quick, athletic. He has average height, but he plays tough. So for me, I'm going cornerback for the Colts for sure at the pick. And they get the number one cornerback. So I'm definitely going to take Arnold here.
So let's talk the three guys through. So Nate Wiggins, fastest cornerback in the draft, ran a 4.28, played at Big School, played in the the SEC, Clemson, or ACC, right? Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo was arguably the biggest playmaker cornerback out of the draft. He also ran a 4.33, which is blazing, and he's over 6 feet tall. Only knock on him is he played in the small school, but then at the pro day he was the best player at the pro day. One knock on Kerryon Arnold, which I do agree could be the best cornerback in the draft. He did ran a 4.540, and I think I talked to you the other day about 4.540s at cornerback.
Yeah, that is the one knock on him. He is more physical, and I think that helps him. But you're right with the speed. If he plays out of position or gets caught, then yeah, he's going to get beat. Watching him on film, he didn't look like he had a hard time with wide receivers, but sometimes players are more game fast, if that makes sense. So I don't know. Yeah, the other guys, Wiggins was a 4.28 and Mitchell was a 4.33, extremely fast. So I guess you can go with any of them, but I know most people are ranking Arnold as the number one cornerback.
You want to go Arnold then?
Sure.
Okay. So. All right, so Colts defense has been pretty solid lately, and we're going to shore up the defense, go Kerryon Arnold. Next up is my Seahawks. So Seahawks, they need interior offensive line. Center is a very big need. They just signed a free agency offensive guard, so they don't need offensive guard as much, but they still need an offensive guard. They also need defensive line help. Their interior, they just re-signed Cat Williams, and they still have Jared Reed on the roster. They do have Draymond Jones, who they like to move inside. So if they do that, then Pass rush downs, they definitely need edge help as well. So they need anywhere on the defensive line, interior offensive line, and then kind of looking at best available players. We got offensive tackle Fuaga. There's kind of rumors that our right tackle might have a knee issue, which could cause him problems the rest of his career. So we do have Fuaga available. Don't really need a cornerback, but if they did go Keon Mitchell opposite of Tariq Wollins and played Witherspoon at nickel, their cornerbacks would be elite. What are you thinking here?
I mean, I like Brian Murphy definitely for him, but I think they're pretty good there. I think you're right. I think here you got to go offensive line. You got Fatanu and you got Fuega. Um, I know Fuega's being sort of mocked a lot to Seattle and what I'm seeing. They say OT. I mean, he's offensive tackle or guard. They're saying he might have to move into guard for the NFL. What you're needing guard help, and especially if there's question mark at your right tackle, he's better fit, I believe, for probably right tackle. So I think if I'm picking one guy here, I'm definitely going to go with Fuaga for me because he has some versatility there. Might move him into guard or bounce him out to right tackle.
So Fuaga's projected to play interior. I know Fatanu from Washington is projected to be a guard as well. I didn't know Fuaga was too.
Yeah, they said he might. Well, they're saying he might have to move to guard in the NFL. So I was just reading it on Bleacher's Report. They were talking about how he might not stay at tackle, but if not, he'd probably move to right. Play right tackle or guard. So since those are two needs for you, I sort of like that pick because then you could see where he fits better, early on in camp stuff. If it's,
So we were like Converser, Latu, both of them are gone. We don't really need defensive tackle help, even though it wouldn't hurt. So I agree with you at guard. So the choice here is definitely between Fuaga and Fatanu. The only reason so I would say the coaching staff knows both of them fairly well. So our offensive coordinator and our O-line guy have played with Fatanu for 4 or 5 years, so they know him better than anyone, obviously. And whatever scheme they're running, he's gonna run it already. So smart wise, he's gonna be ready to roll day one. Fuaga, they did play against Oregon State, so they know him as well. I think let's see their size wise. So we got Fuaga ran a 5.13, so he's a little bit slower, which is okay at guard, right? And then Fatana ran 5.01, so he's definitely faster.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah. I sort of like what you're saying, though. Based on the history and knowing the guy, Fatanu makes the most sense. They're both OTs being converted to guards, so you obviously clearly know one over the other. So if they think he's their guy and he'll be able to do that transition, then they're going to draft him there, right? If that's what they're looking for, they'll draft him over Fuaga. So if they question that, then maybe they go with Fuaga. But I think you're right here.
So I want to hear some funny things I heard about Fatanu. So some schools, I forget which school it was, maybe it was BYU, require their offensive tackles to tape their ankles and wear knee braces, right? So some schools actually require that just to keep their big men healthy. Troy Fatano's never taped his ankles in his life, never wears anything on his knees. And guess what? He plays volleyball professionally in his off season.
That's funny.
All right, so yeah, so just like the Titans, we go boring and select what everyone else is selecting. Get Fatanu. Yeah, I haven't seen Fuaga really slated to Seahawks at all. Maybe they don't expect him to be there, or maybe it's just from the ties. So 17th pick, we got the Jaguars. Jaguars definitely need cornerback. Receivers kind of a need there. They just lost their receiver in free agency. They also need defensive line help. So We do have Mitchell and Wiggins still available. We still have Murphy and Newton available. And if we wanted to go receiver, probably Thomas is the selection here.
Yeah, they definitely have some options here. For me, I'm sort of thinking Nate Wiggins because they have a weakness at cornerback, and that one weakness Jacksonville had. They were terrible against the pass last year. So I think he's taller cornerback. He's quick, athletic. So I don't know. I'm sort of thinking on how bad their pass struggled last year for them. I'm sort of thinking Nate Wiggins would be a good fit here. They also could look at Brian Murphy. You could look at the number 1 D tackle. This is going to start becoming really good value here. So I think between those two positions, but I know they said they desperately need some cornerback help. So I'm sort of thinking cornerback for them.
So what's your thoughts on Mitchell though? Because Mitchell was the biggest playmaker in college football last year. Had a few interception returns for touchdowns. I think didn't he break the record or something with returns for touchdowns?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that.
And he did dominate in the pro day. So Quinion Mitchell is rated a little bit higher on my board for sure. But
you like it? I'm fine with that. That's fine. I just think them addressing the cornerback position is important for him in this draft. So I'm fine with going with Mitchell here as well. I have Mitchell and Wiggins, back to back with each other. So I'm fine with that.
I mean, you got Mitchell. Wiggins played in way better competition, but then you got Mitchell who showed up at the pro day, and there was rumors he was the best player on the field.
Yeah. All right, we can go Mitchell here. If you're good with that, I'm okay with that.
Okay, so the Jaguars select Quinion Mitchell, Toledo. Now Bengals are on the clock. Been rumors about losing Wiggins. So they could use a pass catcher. So you could get another offense or LSU weapon for them. Receiver. They also need a cornerback and a D line. So those cornerback and D lines seem to be highly valued. So you could get the best defensive tackle. We could get the last corner out of those big 3, so we could go with Wiggins as well. Or we could get Thomas. What's your thoughts for the Bengals?
Yeah, I'm sort of torn. Yeah, they can get the best DL. They can get the second to third best cornerback. Pass catcher here, I think it depends on what happens with Wiggins. I don't know if that trade's going to happen or not, but I feel like they're okay at pass catcher. I don't feel like that is a priority at this pick. The big issue is they did lose Jonah Williams to Arizona, so they have offensive line issues, and you got to be able to protect Burrow. So a lot of rumors of J.C. Latham, who's like around our 4th ranked O tackle, being drafted here. They said has the power to start at guard and athleticism to be a tackle. And if not,
still got Fuaga available. Who could play tackle or guard.
Yeah, and if they like Fuaga, then maybe that pick. But they definitely have offensive line issues at this point. So, I mean, Burrow's dealing with some injuries off and on. So for me, they still have weapons, right? You still got weapons on offense. To me, I'm gonna probably shore up the O-line here. Make sure Burrow.
Well, Burrow's success is senior year in LSU. He had super stud receivers, and bringing another LSU receiver might bring back Burrow's heyday. But tackle, you thinking?
Yeah, I mean they lost Jonah Williams. They said they really need a lineman. So I mean.
So there's another guy here that you haven't mentioned from Georgia, Amarius Mims, who's a freaking monster.
Yeah.
They say he's a project, but could become like a Hall of Fame type guy. He's what is he, like 340?
Yeah. I think he's a project, but yeah, he definitely fits the bill. I mean, Jason Latham's also huge.
Yeah, Yeah, he's a little more polished, and we probably want to keep our quarterback healthy right away. So, yeah, I think J.C. Latham would be the pick out of tackles.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I think that's a good pick for them here after, they lost Williams.
Okay. All right, so the Bengals select offensive tackle J.C. Latham of Alabama. Next on the clock is the Rams. Rams just lost Aaron Darnold, so they could obviously use a defensive tackle. They also needed edge rusher, but the main edge rushers are off the board. They also could use offensive lineman, cornerback. So we'll still have a good cornerback available. Still have some offensive linemen available. Definitely have the best defensive tackles available. So we could just plug and play Newton or Murphy and pretend Aaron Donald left, even though they're not going to be as good. But these guys are both like 300 pounds and twitchy like Aaron Donald. So at least you'd have a disruptive defensive tackle still.
Yeah, for me, easy pick, Brian Murphy. With Aaron Donald retiring, you need that position filled. Obviously, he'll be nothing like Aaron Donald. No one will, but he was good against run and pass. They said he was a little on the weaker side. But out of all these positions left, you're going to get the second, third, fourth best player at those positions, or you can get the number one player at the position. So I'm going to take Aaron Donald's replacement and go with Brian Murphy.
Yeah, out of all the defensive tackles on the board, he ran a 4.87 at 300 pounds, which is pretty fucking crazy. He did only bench 28 pounds, which is nowhere near the strength of Aaron Donald.
Yeah, that's what they're talking about. They said he lacks the strength, but he played really well against the run and against the pass. But we'll find out how athletic and how well he moves on that interior line. We know when you jump from college to the NFL, if you don't have strength, you're going to get pushed around and stuff.
So here's another side note. So he was on a loaded off defensive line, right? So he was stunting and doing a lot of that stuff. So that probably even made him look better than he was. What about Carizon Newton from Illinois? He's bigger than Murphy, a little stronger than Murphy.
Yeah, he didn't run or bench on the combine.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't participate. Thank you.
Yeah.
But he was pretty disruptive, and he was definitely on a good defense and made Illinois a lot better program. Their defense has been pretty elite since he's been there, along with Witherspoon.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I know they have Murray ranked as a clear number one guy. I sort of like it. His outside of him being on a little weaker side, if he's just one of the football players, as far as how he played, then I think I'm sticking with Murray.
Okay, Los Angeles Rams select Byron Murphy, Texas. Steelers are on the clock now. Need an offensive tackle. Could use a receiver. Lost Deontay Johnson. They need a cornerback as well. So we got Wiggins still available. We still have Brian Thomas available, which could be good with Russ or whoever's quarterback there. And we still have Mims and Fuaga. So, what's your thoughts for the Steelers?
Yeah, I think they could definitely use some lineman help, especially interior, like guard, center help.
Yeah, and they also like to run the ball, so getting Fuaga would make some sense. They're going to be running the ball with Justin Fields or Russell Wilson a lot, and even when they decide to pass, both of those quarterbacks can take off for the run. So building an offensive line would be kind of an important process, especially if Justin Fields is our future.
Yeah, and I like Fuaga here, especially because he can play guard. He's tackle, but they think he can move into the guard position and stuff. I do think, though, that they need center help for sure. So we might even, what do we have for our number one center? Jackson Powers Johnson?
Yeah, Graham Barton's a little bit bigger than Jackson, and he has said that he can play center as well. He's projected more of a guard, but he did play center as well, Duke. So we could go Barton or Jackson. I don't think that either one's that big a deal. So if we want a hybrid, it would be Graham Barton, who could play guard or center. If we want a center, it would just be Jackson Power. If we wanted a guard / tackle, then it would be Fuaga.
Yeah, I sort of like the Barton pick, what you're saying, because he can play guard and center. So, and I know they need some center help. And like you said, they got 2 really good running backs. They're going to be running the football. So I sort of like that pick here for sure.
All right. All right, so the Pittsburgh Steelers select center from Duke, Graham Barton, big nasty guy. Got a little monkey wrench for you. I heard this rumor quite a bit, actually. Let's see if you've heard it. So Eagles are on the clock. I heard a lot of ties from multiple people saying Penix could be a better version of Tua in the Dolphins offense. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't think Miami selects Penix here. For me, Miami is more of a win now team. I think Tua's good enough to win with for sure. So the Dolphins lost plenty of edge rushing this offseason. So for me, I think they need to look on the D-line side of the ball.
Did you hear any rumors too? Penix possibly tied to the Dolphins?
I haven't heard that. No, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I've heard it 2 or 3 different places lately. Defensive wise, we do need defensive line and interior line, so we could look at Johnny Newton. So get the other best defensive tackle. Chop Robinson's kind of a project, I would say. So I would say if we want to go defensive line, I think Johnny Newton's the play. We also need interior line help, so Fuaga's still available, which give us more protection for our offense. But like I said, there's still that monkey wrench of Penix. Penix throwing some deep balls to Hill. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, what are you doing with Tua? I just think you're looking to trade him. So Penix is a lefty, just like Tua. They've kind of built their line around lefty already. Tua definitely has a weaker arm, and you can definitely see the Dolphins' offense struggles a little bit because of that. The rumors that I heard is you put Penix in that offense, and the offense would be like the best offense in the league.
I mean, I see that argument. How many times did Tyreek have to come back to the ball, right? I mean, but I don't know. It would sort of floor me. If they had a trade option for Tua, then I definitely can see that happening. But if not, say they keep Tua, I think they need some D-line help for sure. So I'm sort of with the going Newton here. I mean, Chop's a little raw, but a lot of upside. Yeah, I think here probably we're going to go with Newton from Illinois, a D tackle for me.
I could definitely see a surprise and say maybe Tua gets traded to Denver or something and they draft Penix. I could see that.
I mean, you never know. If they liked Penix and he happened to be still setting here at 21 and that was an option, I mean, obviously that'd be a big upgrade for Denver. So I can see that happening.
All right, 21 pick. Miami Dolphins select Johnny Football. Eagles are on the clock. Eagles need cornerback. Wiggins is still available. I think Wiggins been tied to him in a lot of mocks. They need interior offensive line help. They just lost their center, so they could go Jackson Powers and get another stud center right away, which I think would be smart. And there's still that lingering receiver issue, right? If our receiver's happy in Philly.
Okay. I'm hearing cornerback and lineman as well for the Eagles at this pick. It's funny because I saw a rumor yesterday, A.J. Brown rumored to go to New England, and that was like knocked down right away. But it's true. Is A.J. Brown, is he really unhappy right now? Is he going to try to force something? I don't know, but rumors are rumors. So, I mean, if we knew that was to be true, we would think different here. But outside of that, I'm going to say they're going to go, offensive tackle or best cornerback. Lane Johnson, who's been a stud for him at tackles, what is he, 33, 34, 35? He's getting to the end of his career, so they could look at, like, you know.
Well, they do like the bull forward on the offensive line, getting a Marius Mims, a big giant of a man, put him at tackle. That tush push would look even better, right?
Yeah, actually, Mims would be a really good pick here. I mean,
But they also
and,
have a glaring need at center since their center retired, and Jackson Powers is supposed to be a generational center out of Oregon.
ooh, I like that pick too here, actually, on there. And you still have Lane, so even if they have to address it after this season, I actually like that pick. I think that's a good play. Let's go with Jackson Powers.
All right, so the Eagles have been a great team because of the center and their tush push, so they just draft the best center in the draft. All right, so Vikings already selected Bo Nix earlier. They surprisingly have a receiver still available if we wanted to go 3 big receivers. So Brian Thomas Jr. is still there, so they still could get a double LSU connection if they wanted. Other needs for the Vikings, they need pass rushers, interior offensive linemen, so we could go Chop Robinson here. They could go interior offensive line, so Fuaga's still available, which he just keeps dropping and dropping. So we could get some guard help for Bo Nix. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, Vikings needs, some interior line, and also they lost their stud pass rusher, so they need some pass rushing. So I sort of the pass rushers here. I mean, I don't know if Chop's gonna go.
Fuaga is by far a better, way better value at the position.
Yeah, I agree. I don't with how raw he is. I don't think what's left there. Yeah, they're gonna go as high.
Yeah, we also have a fairly high pick in the draft in the second round, so we could actually we trade our second round, huh? Yeah, so if we go guard here, our offense is going to be set again. We got our quarterback, our receivers, our line will be solid. Our defense was playing better, so I think guard here is good.
Yeah, I like Fuaga. I think that's a really good pick.
All right, so Fuaga drops all the way to 23 to the Vikings. So Vikings kind of staying and selecting. It's kind of turned out pretty good so far. So Dallas needs offensive line help. Dallas needs some interior defensive line help. Don't really need edge rushers. I think they're kind of in the business for opposite edge, but I don't think they need edge as much. Kind of a monkey in the wrench would be Blake Corum from Michigan. I know it's kind of high for running back, but Dallas is in desperate need of a running back, I feel. What do you think? Offensive line, defensive line, or would you reach all the way up here for Corum?
No, I wouldn't reach for Corum at this point. I keep hearing, obviously Zeke's at the end of his career, but I keep hearing about them reuniting and stuff, which Dallas definitely needs, I think.
So one thing that Dallas has been missing is a running back that can get in the end zone, and you do know that Blake Corum set records at rushing touchdowns. So there is that. Make their offense pretty potent if you had a running back that could find the red zone touchdowns like Elliott used to do.
Yeah, that's true. And Dallas, I think what they really need is line help. They lost Tyrone Smith, which has been a stud for them for a lot.
Still got Mims here, which we talked about numerous times. I think Jerry Jones likes project-type guys, and Mims is definitely a large, massive man that could be a great project for Jerry Jones.
Yeah, I actually really like Mims here. I say we go with Mims here because they definitely need to have some O-line help. So I could see the eye candy, going with Blake for sure here. I can see that fitting with what they like to do, get that type of back in their system, but I think Mims is really good value here. I sort of like it. I think he's going to go in this range in the 20s, but I think it's a good place for him for sure.
Well, since he is a little raw, you could always look at Tyler Guyton. He's not too far of a reach from here out of Oklahoma.
Yeah, yeah,
Mims.
yeah. Let's go Mims.
All right, so Dallas gets Tyron's replacement, possibly Amarius Mims. We got Packers up. They need offensive tackle help as well. So Guyton here again. They need the best. They need a corner. We still have Nate Wiggins on the board.
Yeah, and they definitely need a corner outside of Jari Alexander. They
which
need that.
is
They
which is,
lost a couple offensive linemen. Um, I think here though, at Nate Wiggins at this pick, also safety slash cornerback here. They could look at one of the safeties, even though they just signed Xavier McKinney from the Giants.
well, a lot of people really like Cooper DeJean. They say he can be like a really disruptive player that can move around the field a lot. They can play him outside or inside or even safety if they wanted. Other safety, that Tyler Nubin out of Minnesota is pretty good, but I think Cooper DeJean is kind of intriguing here and makes their defense more dynamic. But if you put Wiggins on the outside, I mean, you could possibly have a shutdown corner.
Yeah, I think one of those two guys for sure. I actually like Cooper DeJean here. I think that'd be a good fit based on the versatility. I mean, I really like Nate Wiggins too, so I don't think we can go wrong with either. But let's just go with Cooper here. I like that pick.
Okay. So Green Bay goes a little off board and gets Cooper DeJean, hybrid from Iowa. A lot of people say he's going to move to safety, but he still ran a 4.5 40. He's just as fast as Terrion Arnold. It's not like he's slow. All right,
No,
all right. So the Bucks need a pass rusher. Still have Chop Robinson on the board. They need best cornerback, so they still need corner help, and we continually see Wiggins fall. So eventually we're gonna have to pick him, and this looks like a good spot.
yeah, I like Wiggins. They also the other big thing for the Bucks is definitely offensive line. They definitely need some offensive line help. So
Still got Tyler Guyton here, and we also still have a few other guys later in the second round. So I mean, Tyler Guyton's kind of the last of my first round rated offensive tackles. So Tyler Guyton wouldn't be a bad pick, but Wiggins is also slipping, so that's still a good one.
yeah, yeah, that's tough here. I like Wiggins' value. But I know they really need some help on that offensive line. They got a good running back. They just re-signed Baker. They re-signed Evans, but he's going to have time. He's going to have time to throw to their two wide receivers, and then help the offensive line to keep that run game going. I sort of think we go with Guyton here.
All right, so Tampa Bay Bucks draft Tyler Guyton. So we got 6 more teams. We got Arizona back on the clock. We drafted a receiver to Arizona. Arizona also needs defensive line help, cornerback, safety. So Tyler Nubin, Wiggins. Defensive tackle wise, we could always go Chris Jenkins out of Michigan.
Yeah, I think for AZ right here, between safety and cornerback, they need some secondary help. At this point really like the Nate Wiggins pick here.
Yeah, Arizona seems to like athletic guys. They like to get speed, so I think Wiggins would be the pick too.
Cool. Let's go Wiggins. I like that.
All right, Nate Wiggins is finally off the board after we debated him like 12 rounds ago. Buffalo Bills are on the clock. Buffalo obviously just lost their stud receiver, actually both receivers, so they dire need a receiver help. And we keep talking about Brian Thomas. I've seen Brian Thomas mocked here a few times. I think Brian Thomas on some people's boards is like the clear-cut 4th best receiver. I think if Buffalo could get him, I think that would be pretty huge.
Yep, I was already set with it. There's rumors that they're going to trade up, so to get a wide receiver. I think at this point, this is a perfect match and fit for him. He's a huge receiver. He's really athletic and has good upside. I mean, with Diggs gone and Davis gone, they got to give that to Allen. So I say Brian Thomas for sure without even thinking about it.
Okay. Just to throw a couple other options there. So, Adion Mitchell, also a big receiver out of Texas, ran a 4.34. There's Xavier Worthy from Texas, who ran a 4.21, the fastest receiver. He's a small burner guy. Josh Allen's big arm. That'd be kind of intriguing. Maybe the next Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, for me, the only other one I'd consider here is Mitchell. He has, great size and speed. They said he has huge upside, so I really like him as well. But I like
you don't see the intrigue in Xavier Worthy running 4.21 and Josh Allen's big arm.
No, I do. Yeah, I see the intrigue.
Brian Thomas is fast too. He's just not 4.21.
Yeah, he has more question marks with Worthy. I've seen some people are really high on him, some are not. But I feel like, like you said, more people are pretty set on Thomas being that fourth guy. Mitchell's right there too. There's a handful of wide receivers right now in this next group that it's pretty hard to judge.
All right, so Buffalo Bills select Brian Thomas Jr. All right, Detroit Lions are on the clock. They also need receiver help a little bit. They need corner help, interior line help, offensive line. Linemen, we still have some tackles. Don't really have any guards available in the draft rated this high. There's Christian Haynes out of UConn. Not really sure I'd want to go here with him. I've heard them tied to cornerbacks quite a bit, and Cooper DeJean, I've heard his name to Detroit because of his toughness. Chop Robinson's kind of intriguing here. They don't really need an edge rusher, but Chop throwing him on that defense was kind of cool. We also have Kool-Aid McKinstry if we wanted to go cornerback.
Yeah, I actually really like Kool-Aid here. I know they need a cornerback, but he's an athletic guy. So I mean, he's a little on the shorter side.
Yeah, he was rated a lot higher until he got hurt. Didn't he get hurt like last year or something?
I think he had something he had to work through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's sub 4.5. He's ran a 4.45. He's a little bit smaller. He's 5'11", but after Wiggins, he was the fastest cornerback. After Wiggins and Mitchell, he was the fastest cornerback on the board. So I think Kool-Aid would be a good pick. Chop Robinson to me is a little bit intriguing because,
yeah,
but for their needs, I say Kool-Aid is probably the pick.
I agree because Chop, with that D line, he can learn behind him. He's not he can rotate. He's not having to play and start right now, so that gives him some time. But yeah, I really like Kool-Aid here for Detroit. I think that would be a good pick.
Yeah, Chop did run a 4.48 40, and he's 6'6".
That's pretty crazy.
So I mean, throwing him a rotation at end, Detroit Lions defense could be crazy. So I think Chop's intriguing, but it's up to you. Kool-Aid or Chop?
I'm gonna say Kool-Aid.
All right. So Kool-Aid McKinstry goes off the board. We got the Ravens, Niners, and Chiefs left. All of them need offensive line help, defensive line help, kind of best available player. I think Ravens probably could look receiver here. They're always looking receiver, it seems. Maybe getting Xavier Worthy or Adion Mitchell would be pretty huge. Best offensive tackle available, probably Kingsley out of BYU. Defensive line, they lost a few defensive linemen in the draft, so I mean we could look back at Robinson again here and get the Ravens another pass rusher. They did lose a pass rusher last year.
Yeah, I actually like Chop here. I can see that being a good spot for him, and like you said, Kingsley would definitely be another good pick here. They need some guard help. Yeah, on this. I'm sort of torn between those two positions.
I think if we were to go best available, it would be Chop, though. He's the highest rated left on my board in the entire draft.
All right, let's go Chop.
So, Ravens select Chop Robinson, Penn State. Kind of funny, we talked about Penix maybe dropping the second. We don't agree with it, but if you can see once you get past that Raiders selection, you could definitely see, like, on the way Penix really goes in the first round if somebody trades back for him. Trades up.
Yeah, the other intriguing thing I keep hearing, and it's probably just one of those smoke screens, is Dallas looking at the quarterback. You never know with Jerry Jones.
Yep.
Don't know why he would do that, but there are a lot of rumors out there.
All right, so Niners, I've seen him tied to Sumatra and Morgan from Arizona. Also receivers, a little bit of receiver talk, but I heard they're not losing what's his name from Arizona. I heard rumors he was gonna go, but I guess
Ayuk?
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as they keep Ayuk, I don't see why they'd look at a wide receiver at all. They're a trench team. I can see them between adding more talent on the D line or O line.
So Chris Jenkins, defensive tackle, Michigan, I think would be a really good pick here, or even a Kavondre Sweat. I know he had a DWI the other day, but that dude's 360-pound monster. Imagine him in the interior on the Niners defensive line.
Man.
One monkey wrench I'll throw at you is either Adrian Cooper or Peyton Wilson from NC State linebackers. Their linebacker just did come off a serious injury, so they might want a linebacker help.
Yeah, Achilles. He won't be back for a little while.
Yeah, Peyton Wilson was first-round talent till he got hurt at NC State. So I mean, there's that. Adrian Cooper from Texas A&M is like a super twitchy linebacker. He ran a 4.51 from Texas A&M at 6'2", 230. So there's that. I think since they really value inside linebackers, I think Adrian Cooper could be a really good play here. But I really like Kavondre Sweat or Chris Jenkins having really big guys in the middle for the Niners to go opposite of their powerhouse edge rushers could be big.
Yeah, I like that too. It frees up their linebacker play. They love D tackles. I like Jenkins here, and like you said, the off-ball linebackers. I could see them going with a linebacker, especially dealing with the injuries they are.
So Chris Jenkins is almost identical stat-wise and size-wise to Byron Murphy. 6'3", 300 pounds, ran a 4.9, 29 bench press. Is a little bit low, little about the same as Murphy. So I mean, getting him here that could be just as good as Byron Murphy, and Byron Murphy went 19. I think that's probably the play.
Yeah, I like that pick. Let's go with Jenkins here.
All right, so the Niners do what the Niners always do and get talent at defensive line. Chris Jenkins, Michigan, probably a little high on the board for most, but I think he's probably the highest rated defensive tackle left, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, safest and highest rated for sure. I like him.
All right, so the Chiefs, obviously their number one receiver, just got in trouble. They always need receiver help. You were just talking about Mitchell for numerous spots being possibly the fourth best receiver. I mean, he's big, he's fast.
Yep.
That makes sense, but let me throw a couple other guys at you. So we were talking about how good the Chiefs were with Tyreek Hill. You could put Xavier Worthy in there and get the burner that he hasn't had, right? So there's that option. They do need some offensive line help. We still have a few tackles on the board. Could go Kingsley still. And then they do their defense is good, but they lost a couple guys. Tyler Nubin, safety. We have TJ Tampa or Rakestraw, cornerbacks. And then I think that's, I mean, Tavondre Sweat throwing another big guy next to A Jones would be pretty impressive. If you had Jones and Sweat in the middle, you'd never run on the Chiefs.
No, and the Chiefs, traded away their stud safety, like you're saying. So the number one safety here, I really like, and I actually love Mitchell at wide receiver here for him, especially Rice. Man, he 900 and some yards, 6, 7 touchdowns. I forget exactly his stats, but almost hit 1,000 yards this year, and just really came on as the number one for Kansas City. I don't know how that's all going to play out. Kelsey's still Kelsey, but he is getting up there in age. I think it would be very hard for them not to take Mitchell here. His athleticism and upside's big, and Mahomes would love someone like that. And then the clear-cut number one safety is also tempting here.
I think it'd be a really hard decision between Worthy and Mitchell. They're both really good in different ways, right? You get that Tyreek Hill type player and Worthy, or you can get the big receiver that he really hasn't had. So Mitchell could definitely pan out to be a super stud number one. And if you put him opposite of some of the guys they already have fast receivers on their roster, right?
Right.
And it's not like Mitchell's slow though, right? But he would be he would be something they don't have. I mean, do you want a guy that could be like Tyreek Hill, or do you want a guy that could be like Jamar Chase, right? I feel like Jamar Chase would give you more value than Tyreek Hill in offense in general. I'm not saying the speed and playmaking of Worthy wouldn't be valuable, but I think Mitchell's a little bit more dynamic overall in general.
Yeah, I love his upside. I mean, I think he has the upside to be a number one, especially obviously with a quarterback like Mahomes. So in that offense, so I'm going to go Mitchell here. It's tempting on the safety, but I think, I mean, if Rice does come back or doesn't have a long suspension, Kelsey still has a year, maybe two, at least a year, right? At least this year. And then if Rice was to come back and you have Mitchell in there, like, man, he can finally have the most
Mahomes,
offense.
Mahomes could go back to that 15 touchdown range, you would think.
Yeah, I like that pick there. I say we go Mitchell.
Yep, 80 on Mitchell to the Chiefs, and that ends the draft. So, any thoughts about how things went? So, Caleb, obviously, Jaden, those are pretty. Drake May, Marvin Harrison, Rome. Giants getting McCarthy. I think you were also debating Neighbors there, right?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it just shows early on by a pick or two how your entire mock could change. That's why every mock looks so different. Everyone, is like, no way is my team taking this or that. But, if we didn't even go with any trades, and there's a good chance there's going to be some trades, and it's just going to shake up the entire draft. So I feel like we did a decent job based on trying to address teams' needs and stuff. I don't know. Obviously we'll see how this goes once draft day starts. But like I said, as soon as the trade happens, players will start falling different. So.
Yeah, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 offensive players. Penix didn't even go. That was interesting because both of us like Penix a lot. And it's kind of when we got to Bo Nix, and I was thinking about the Vikings, right? So Bo Nix is just I've heard that he's not rated high as Penix on a lot of people, but when you got the injuries in, it seems like Nix would go places that Penix might not go, right? Just because of that.
Yeah, I agree. For sure.
And if you're in that 11, 12, 13 range, it's kind of almost like the Vikings shouldn't trade up, but they're going to trade up, right? Because you stay back, you can get Nix or Penix and probably be happy with either one of them, right? And you still have your 23 pick to get offensive tackle or cornerback. There's so many good tackles, cornerbacks, and defensive linemen in this draft. If you just hold your picks at the end, you kind of just get what's best. Because we had a lot of spots in the late 20s where we saw 4 or 5 guys that looked really good at each team.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what's going to make this whole draft and how everything falls in place is truly where all the teams, where they have these quarterbacks ranked, right? We're all speculating and we're all, jumping on all these quarterbacks, what we don't like about them all. But at the end of the day, it's what the teams that have done this homework really think about them, and how the quarterbacks fall is how the rest of the board's going to fall.
Yep, I agree. All right, buddy. Thanks for showing up. Have a good trip to Vegas.
Thanks, man. Yeah, have a good weekend. I'll talk to you soon.